What's going on? So Alex Will 6'4". And today, if you're interested, we're going to take an excursion or a journey into, two of my favorite subjects, mind and matter. What's going on? And also, I want to let you all know that the Patreon and all that, we're just waiting for the approval of the page, and it's going to be up and running, and there's going to be a link in my videos that you can just click on, and what I'm saying, go on right in and get all that good old nice content that I took down, and more. What I'm saying, it's going to be more than just what I took down. What I'm saying, because again, I don't want certain things just accessible to anybody in the public sphere. Like this, there has to be like a back door. What I'm saying? Like if you're willing to, you know, um, pay the fare and do that, so there should be like a back corridor, like in the back. Like if you like a store owner, what I'm saying, you got all the stuff on the racks and on the shelves or whatever for the general public. But for those that are looking for those things, we ride on them things. You know what I'm saying? Them things. That ain't gonna be on the shelf for everybody that walk in. Like you gotta, that's a special permission. Like you gotta ask the manager. You gotta ask what I'm saying, the owner, and then they take you to the back room, and what I'm saying, they do. What I'm saying, you get that. That's basically what the Patreon is going to be for this channel that I got here for holography. The Patreon going to be the back door, or the back of the stove. So keep that in mind. And then also, like I said, update with the ISIS thesis balls of fire course that's still underway. So keep looking out for that. That we're still working on that. Give me some time. I'm put it together. People are expressing interest of. Let me pull the book out right quick. Let me just flash it to you. Like a course built on this whole premise of the ISIS thesis, balls of fire, Judy K. King type of work or whatever. So that course is coming, and it's going to be, like I said, in my ether-ins.teachable.com website, where you also can enroll into the emotional baggage claim course for free. And if you want to take it further than the free version, you get the whole version known as the Inner Work Suite. And that is, you have to pay the fare for that one. But let's get into it. I just want to just briefly brush over, like do a surface level understanding of the psychology of physics. Because what you have to understand, if you're willing to understand, is that your mind, or you as mind, you as an individualized piece of mind, of all mind, say all is mind, universe is mental. That's the first universal law of the Hermetic principles, or if you want to call it that, the Kybalion, if you need to read that book. Um, when you're operating in a physical condition or a physical state, meaning that you agree with the consensus that there is a street, there is a patch of grass, there's a shirt. Say like my shirt, my sailor shirt, fishing shirt, looking like a black Popeye out here. You agree that there's a cup. You agree that there's a phone. These physical items, these physical things. You agree that there's a sky that you can observe with your eyes, right? There's a person sitting next to you. There's a chair. The blinds, the wall, the house, the apartment, a bottle, what I'm saying, Hennessy, water, paper, what I'm saying, anything physical. Once you agree that this is something that is something to be said that it is, like once you agree that this is something, like what can I once you agree that this is, you can see this, and that you can observe this, you can say or agree with everyone else that this is indeed a pen, then there's a whole mental frame or mind state that helps you understand that that you're agreeing that this is a physical thing. So this is where the bridge between your mentality, or what is studied in so-called psychiatry today or psychology today, there's a bridge between the physical things and the physical phenomena that you observe and experience throughout every millisecond of your day. But we need to start making, for me, I need, like, I'm making a bridge between that which is mental, abstract, and that which is physical, that which has a physical measurement. Like this pen has mass, it has length, it has width, it has depth. You see what I'm saying? It has a volume if we talk about liquid. So there's a whole mentality that must precede your observation of any physical thing or any physical phenomena. For example, if I punched you straight in your jaw right now, like just a straight, not even no haymaker, just a straight bah, like you have to first, when it comes to mentality, like you first have to have a, I'd say like a grounding of the physical act itself. You see what I mean? Like if I punched you in your face right now, imagine that. You don't see it coming, but sometimes people get punched in their face like it's a sneak attack. Like somebody snuck you. Like that's what we used to say in our hood. Like if you got sucker punched, like or if it's a punch that came out of nowhere, you got sucker punched. The thing about that is that's a physical act. That's a physical phenomenon. It's physical. There's nothing mental about it until you know what I'm saying, you go deeper into it and you start to deconstruct the actual event. So in all actuality, I just lied to you and said that it isn't mental. Of course it's mental, but it's a condition of the mental. So for example, going back to this pen is mind. So the fact that you're saying it's a pen and it's not mind, there's an issue right there. And this can be bad for your psychology or your psyche. Why? Because there is a dual understanding of what this is. So generally speaking, it's a pen. Everybody will agree it's a pen. But on the true side of things, it's actually just mind, like everything else. So what's happening is that there is a psychological divide right in your mind if you don't reconcile the dual nature of this pen. And because you, like most people only see it as a physical object and not its mentality that it actually is going to create a divide with it's based on a divide that already exists within their mind. They make a solid distinction between the pen and some sort of thought of the pen or the mentality that they have, you know what I'm saying, throughout the day, that then when they observe the pen, you know what I'm saying, they don't make the connection between their mentality and the physicality of the pen. And again, that's based on a deeper psychological makeup where your mind is divided between physics and matter, or excuse me, mind and matter, when in actuality they are one and the same. So already you are a divided individual because again, you're not seeing the mentality of the physical things you see. Therefore, we can conclude with this statement in saying that even physicality itself is mental. It was never not mental. It was always mental. But you're looking at mentality in a condition that is physical or physical in nature. My shirt is ultimately mental. It is not, it doesn't stop at the cotton or polyester or, you know what I'm saying, whatever material the shirt was made out of. That's not the end all be all of the shirt. And in some part of your psychology or your psyche or your mind, you notice. But in the surface level of your mind, you're ignoring it. You know what I'm saying? Going back to this pen, you're not saying that it's mental when all things are mind. So why is there a divide? So when we talk about integration and becoming whole again, or getting into what is known as the shadow or your dark side or whatever you want to call it, this is pretty much the makeup of that. It's not just you going back into traumatizing memories or things that you suppress about your personality. It goes deeper than that, or more depthical than that. You're actually getting into everything that you choose to ignore about the world in which you observe. So again, this pen is ultimately mental, but you still keep looking at it and treating it as a just a purely physical thing. And that's where the divide is. That's where the division comes in. That's where the you know what I'm saying, excuse the term, schizophrenia this is the real schizophrenia or schizopsychology. I don't know if I want to say phrenia because phrenia is the etymology of phrenia is brain, and we're going beyond the brain. You know what I'm saying? But the true schizo, like the true, because schizo means split. I forgot if it's Greek or Latin, but is it Latin? I think it's Greek. Sometimes I get them mixed up. But schizo means split. So the word schizophrenia literally means split brain. So if we go by the etymology of what was chosen to describe whatever was, you know, whatever schizophrenia is supposed to refer to, you know what I'm saying? Like deal with the etymology and you know exactly what it means. So when I'm talking about you don't recognize the mentality of the pen and you only recognize the physicality of it, that creates a schizoid, a schism, which is related to the word schizo, schism. And when it comes to integration, again, holography, bringing things back into one as they were divided, you bringing them back to one, you have to resolve that schism. It's the same thing as resolving the paradox in the law of polarity. You have to get past the schism of this being a dual thing. Yeah, it's dual, but it's ultimately singular. It's ultimately part of the one thing, of the mind. Even saying that this is just a singular object is not truly correct in saying what it is. Because if this is mine and my skin is mine and my glasses are mine and my shirt and my beard hairs, you know what I'm saying, and my glass right here. If you're saying each of these things is mine, then where is the true separation between the objects? That means there is no true separation of what they are. They are all the same thing. But it's somewhere in your mind, you're thinking that they're all separate, which is something I like to call fragmentality. So instead of using the word schizophrenia, we use the word fragmentality, where you're not making the connection or holding these seemingly separate entities or separate pieces or separate fragments. And that creates a whole psychology. So the reason why it's a certain way is definitely based on how well you have integrated things that are seemingly separate. That creates a whole psychology. And let me show you what I mean. Let me take a little further. Let's say you are a man or like you're a man or woman and you're in a relationship with, you know, the opposite sex. Like I'm a man and I'll be in a relationship with a woman, an intimate relationship with a woman. The moment I feel like she's slipping from my grasp or I'm like she's being distant from me. It could be something she says, something she doesn't say, or it looks like she's showing interest in someone else. The moment that happens, I may have a reaction to it because I'm afraid that I'm a loser. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to have her anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all part of that mentality of, you know, um, she's mine and I got to have her and nobody else can have access to her. You know what I'm saying? And it's really that fear of a divide. It's a fear of another divide because this fear of division is also something that came from you being born out of your mother and being separated from her. Because again, you was basically a part of her physicality until you were separated at birth. So that's a trauma that you still carrying onto. You may be carrying, and then it shows up in the later parts of your life as a fear of splitting or fear of something being taken away from you or you being separated from something. You see what I mean? And it all goes back to this whole thing of physics. Like physics is always about a division between these things and objects or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And that creates a mentality in you. And that's the mentality you have to deal with. So and just going further into it, if you abide by the laws and rules that physics has, presented to you, whether it's science or some just general study of things, then there's a whole mentality that goes with that. Just like if you deal with the abstract and the metaphysical thing, that comes with the mentality too. So notice that there is a mentality before we get to anything physical. The mentality precedes the physicality. Even the physicality is mental. Because anything physical first starts as an idea. The idea being the germ, or the not germ in the sense of it being something of a disease, but germ, because germ literally means seed. You know what I'm saying? Or the seed. Germ is a seed. So this like dealing with the idea is the seed of every physical thing you can think of. Physicality itself is an idea before it becomes a concrete four-dimensional thing that you can, or phenomena that you can observe with your five senses. So when you are in a situation where there's physical things around you, you are like you're identifying as a physical thing, like your body, and then there's physical things happening around you, like for example, the wind blowing, the rain falling out of the sky. You see cars coming down the highway. You see people walking past you on the sidewalk. You see a TV, things on TV. You see, I don't know, ants crawling on the ground. What you're really observing is mental. It's mind that you're observing. You're observing mind. Like on the truest level. But if you think you're only observing things like it's just physical and there's no mentality within it, around it, and about it, then that creates again that schism in you, or it reinforces the schism, shall I say. So when we get into things about dealing with your shadow self, or dealing with, your dark side or whatever, your dark side again is not just the rejected personality traits. It's also everything that you reject about the physical, or the thing that you're observing in itself. That's something you're also rejecting. And that rejection, or that refuse, is what gets stored in what is called your shadow self, or shadow part of your mind. You see what I mean? So that means what? When you observe the physical, it comes with a mentality. Because this is you believing that there's physical objects when it's all just mind. It comes with a mentality. So when we get into people dying, or people being too attached to the physical realm, it's because their mentality is basically physical. You see what I mean? Your mentality has to be physical first before you're attached to any physical thing. Again, this is mind preceding matter. We're putting things in their proper order and sequence. Because I'm not here to say, oh, physicality doesn't exist or it's an illusion. I'm not saying that to you. Because even if you want to say that physicality is an illusion, it's still something. It's still a thing. It's still mind. You see what I mean? So when, like, for example, if you were to drop dead, or if you died or whatever, your attachment to this realm starts with your mind. It doesn't start with you being attached to a physical object. It's you attached to a state of your mind. The issue is that physicality is not the only state that your mind can take. And that's what the largely human beings here are plagued with. Like, that's a disease. You don't see it as a disease, but it actually is. And it's more of a disease than any physical disease, like, for example, cancer, or um, any mental disorder that you can come up with, or any type of ailment that you can come up with. The real physical disease is your attachment to that mind state. Because look at the paradox of it. It's you're believing that it's only physical when it's actually all mental. And then they have this whole this religion called physics that a lot of you subscribe to. And you think you're smarter than everybody because you know all these physics equations. You know what I'm saying? Well, you're really just looking at an observing mind the whole time. So you're looking at these objects and you're creating a schism between the part of you that deals with metaphysical and mental things and the part of you that is observing physical objects. So in a way, you are creating a duality that does not need to exist, or it doesn't need to be how should I say it doesn't need to be given the weight that you give it. So again, for you to observe the physical, you first have to have that mind state. That's how this stuff works. This is the workings of what you think the universe is. Now you think things are beyond you, and they're not really beyond this. It's all mind. How is it beyond? Beyond is just it's an abstract. It's an idea. Now you can choose to accept that idea because your preference, your choice, or your paradigm, your choice. You can accept these things. I'm not saying that you should not accept them, but we're dealing with the psychology of the physics itself. Because what does physics do for your understanding? If that's all you're focused on, it gives you a sense of finite, meaning that these transient things of the physical, like this, can be destroyed physically. This can lose its shape. I can break this pen right in front of your face, and then it's kaput. It's done for. It's a transient thing. It's based on space time, the form that it takes. So over time, this will erode. This will become. It'll be destroyed. It'll be turned back in what you think to be atoms and particles and stuff like that. Or it can just be melted into whatever plastic and then repurposed for another, object. Somebody can steal this pen from me. I can lose this pen at school or at work. So your attachment to this, or my attachment to this, is ultimately ridiculous. It's absurd because it's all mind. So why are you attaching yourself to a piece of mind when you are the whole mind itself? This is the psychology that physics gives. Now let's take it a step further with people that actually believe in the stuff that they get from psychiatry and psychology, like namely people that believe in chemical imbalances in the brain, or they believe in the brain to be the cause of the way you think or the way that you understand or observe the world. They think the brain is the end all be all to the reason why you think or you observe things. Again, you're dealing with a body that can be destroyed. It gets old, it withers away in like 70, 60 years. You know what I'm saying? So how would you ever, like, why would you ever assume that a physical fleshy thing within your body is responsible for your life, or is responsible for your knowledge and understanding of the things that you observe? It's finite. It's limited. It has limitation to it. I thought y'all was trying to go beyond the limits of this. That's what I thought y'all was trying to do. I don't know if y'all are still trying to do that. But definitely for anybody that wants to deal with things on the dark side, or you want to deal with shadow work, or you want to deal with shadow self, or you know what I'm saying? You really need to be dealing with what you are actually refusing or rejecting to observe about the physical world around you. Start there before we start getting into, some sort of personality traits. Like that's a surface level understanding of the mind. Because when you observe this pen again, most people are rejecting in their own mind that it's actually it's made of mind. It's knowledge. It's you know what I'm saying? It's not truly or at its core, a physical object. But you, as the regular person, you're rejecting that aspect of this thing that you're observing. And where does that rejected piece of the understanding go? It goes into your shadow. It becomes a part of your shadow. Because people think that everything in your shadow self is just dark and it's spooky and you know is dealing with evil and repressed sexual desires and all this stuff. It's like, nah, that's kind of like more the surface level of that stuff. So that means if you were to actually do the shadow work and deal with your shadow, you actually should be coming into the understanding that you have already rejected, which is all this is mind. It's just like digging in the trash can and finding jewels or things that someone threw out, which was you. Obviously, we're dealing with you or me. These are things that we threw out in favor of our senses. So, for example, like most of us, we only believe what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And if it's beyond that, we have no, like, we're not interested in it. We have no stake in it. Like we don't agree to it. We don't think it's real. You know what I'm saying? So digging into your shadow is these are the jewels you find that you get the true actual understanding of the physical world and what it is. Because that's basically the makeup of your shadow. It's everything you rejected about the world you observe. Let's take it back to the idea of a dog being able to hear sounds and smell scents that you cannot right now. Like if you had your dog here right now, they can smell things much further than you can. They can hear things at a lower, much lower, what do you call it, decibel than you can. The thing is, you can also observe or sense those things as well, but you rejected it. So over the course of your humanity here, you rejected that level of hearing and smelling. You rejected it. And all the rejected parts of which you are and what you can do goes into your shadow side of your mind. So once you tap into that shadow self of who you are, that's when you get into the potential of you being able to smell and hear like a dog does. Because that's really what these animals, like, not to go off on a tangent, but that's really what these animals are representing. And on a mind, on a level of mentality and mind, like the animal is reflecting back to you an ability that you no longer use or you no longer take part in. It's still a part of you, but you have rejected it. It's in your mental trash can. To use a metaphor or whatever, or use a simile, or what I'm saying, a figure of speech. So that's the point of going into your shadow. The point of you going into your shadow is coming to a completion. Just like this book I have over here, it's probably back here somewhere. The book dealing with the primeval evil of Kabbalah. And on the cover of the book is talking about totality and perfection. So in that book, it explains how you're supposed to, or it's part of, especially if you are an initiate, that's your goal is to bring your shadow and this personality or ego that you want to call it ego. People call it ego. And you're supposed to bring these things into one. All of y'all need to one yourself. Remember that song with what was it, Freeway and Beanie Siegel when Rockefeller was hot? All of y'all need to one yourself. And that's the point of you dealing with your shadow. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to become a whole. Even dealing with Carl Jung, he was on it. I don't know how. I think he just wasn't. He didn't have enough time here to actually go and deal with the whole alchemy. I'll say that Because before I was, bashing his work or whatever, but I can't really bash it if he's really like the whole point of you doing the psychoanalysis and the psychology work is to get to individuation, which means integration. You're integrating the fragmented and broken pieces of your mind into one thing. That's the goal here. Your shadow is everything that you do not accept about yourself, others, and the observable world around you. So in your conditioning here, you have chosen to be a piece of what you actually are. Now, there's people saying this is how I understand the ego. The ego is more of a piece of who you are, not the whole of what you are. So I'm not really interested in trying to kill the ego or destroy it. It's more about integrating it with the other parts of what you are, which namely the shadow we dealing with right here. And then I also I put up a post on my Instagram page maybe like a few days ago where I was talking about the true meaning of outer space, because there's a lot of people that like to subscribe to aliens and extraterrestrials and UFOs and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, what's the real true idea, mentality, or concept behind an outer space? Well, let's break it down, dog. Let's say space is everything that you can observe with your senses. So I can observe the light behind his phone. I can observe the phone itself. I can observe my face on the phone. You can observe your phone or device. You can observe all the objects around you and all the phenomena that has taken place this whole day, right? Let's call that space. So when you're talking about something that's outer or beyond that, is everything that you do not know or refuse or rejected about everything that is space. Because you may think that this pen you're observing, again, that's all that it is. And there's nothing else to it because your eyes is seeing what it's seeing. But the outer space of the pen is the fact that it's actually mind and that your eyes are not even at their whole full capacity of what it could observe. So that's the true outer space. Outer space is a mentality, it's an idea. It's not about no aliens and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And then breaking the word down once more, outer space, which you're really saying is outer, meta, beyond, and space, which again, we're saying that that's physical, physicality, physical things, physics, the natural world, everything you can observe with your senses. So outer space is really saying metaphysics. Outer space, what you're really saying is extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial is really metaphysics. Metaphysics is saying beyond Earth, not just the planet. We're going beyond the plane. We're taking the T off of planet and we're just dealing with planes of existence. Haven't you heard that term before? The planes of existence, not planets. What if everything you're calling a planet is actually supposed to be a plane of your mind? So Jupiter is actually mental. It has nothing to do with the round thing with the spot on it that like people use a telescope to observe in the night sky. Deal with outer space on its abstract level and you'll know exactly what it means to be outer space. So dealing with your shadow is a form of dealing with outer space. Just by the fact that if you go outside at night, it's all dark. Or you look at an outer space, it looks dark. That's a physical feature, but it's actually based on a mental idea or a mental abstract. So now we have to see, well, how does your mentality change once you start dealing with this dark side or this shadow or this outer space? How does your mind change? How does it change? Like for example, once you realize that you are the cause of every physical event that has happened to you from the time you became physical to the time you stop being physical, how does your mind change? How does your behavior change? That's what we dealing with over here. See, physics or physicality is a mind state, ultimately. Even the equations you come up with to explain physical phenomena like speed or velocity or mass, volume, the spin of a particle, you know what I'm saying? How far the sun is away from the earth. That's not really a physical thing, that's a mental thing. So if I were to translate that, I would translate, how far the sun is from the earth. That would be what I would be really saying, if you translate it correctly, would be how much don't you know about Earth itself? Because sun would be a representation of attention or focus of mind, or you know what I'm saying, your light, your knowledge. You see what I'm saying? Another way you can interpret it is just saying that, the sun or your attention span is beyond Earth. And saying 93 miles away from the Earth or whatever the sun is, what you're really saying is that the sun is, or your knowledge ought to be beyond the physical and deal with things that are outer space or outside of the dimensions of space time. Does your attention span go there? Does your mind encompass all of that? I mean, this is why people become materialistic. It's a mind state. It's based on the idea that you need more because you don't have it. You lack it. You know what I'm saying? You lack it. You have to have it. You can't be without it. That's a mentality based on physics. Physics creates that idea that these things are transient, or these things you don't already have them. So now you must go out and get them. You must go out and secure them. You must bring them into your possession. What if it's already in your possession? Or if there's 1,000 tons of gold that belongs to me? That's a mentality, right? Because then you would be on a conquest or not a conquest, but a quest to get that gold. But that's an extreme example. It's just like you going to work every day, or you trying to start a business where you're trying to sell something to make money. It's this idea of creating, uh, 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 like you're creating a situation or a scenario where you have to do these certain things to survive. So dealing with the physical, you create survival mode based off of the physical. The fact that you have to eat, or that you have to drink water, or that you have to live in a house, or that you have to have familial bonds or some sort of bonds with other people. Like these are all ideas based on the physical realm. Do they hold up once we go outside of space time or go outside of the laws of physics? See, this is why I was dealing with Shiva, or the deity Shiva, before. Definitely like a few years ago. I was heavy on the Shiva. Like I had the Trishula necklace. I was, what I'm saying, I was posting about Shiva, the deity from Hindu mythology, the great destroyer. He's blue and he has like a little pony, like he got a little little woman hairdo that you get at the salon, bitch. You know what I'm saying? Straight out the salon type of do. You're like, oh my god, that type of do. He got that going on. And he got a snake around his neck, and he has like a leopard or a tiger skin I don't want to say dress because you know what I'm saying, I ain't trying to imply any homo stuff going on, but just he wears that garb of the tiger or the leopard or whatever. And you know what I'm talking about, Shiva. So what was I going with that? So Shiva is based on the destruction of the physical. And it's also, Shiva is known as the great outlaw because Shiva goes beyond the physical realm. It goes beyond the physical equations, the boundaries of physics. So he's an outlaw because of that, because he breaks the laws of physics. That's something I would have you do. Go beyond and break the laws of physics. Your body may be bound by physics, but your mind does not have to be. I made a meme out of that. If you go on my page, I'll be making little memes off of these sayings I come up with. And people be sharing them on their stories and pages and all the, you know what I'm saying? Some of these they be out here stealing my whole caption and putting it off as they own on their own page. So you gotta watch out for those little crafty little devils that do that. I keep catching people. I'm like, you stole my caption and you out here like showing it off like you came up with those sentences. Gotta catch these little crafty little social media thumb devils. You gotta catch them. You gotta catch them and catch them and catch them. They will steal your thing. See, I'm not talking about somebody like, stealing a meme from your page and posting on there. No, they was sitting here taking my whole captions and acting like they wrote them and trying to appear smart and, spiritually advanced to their followers. So you gotta watch out for that. But I digress. I'm just saying that, we're going beyond physics. That makes us outlaws. So Shiva is, again, the great outlaw. So this is the whole, metaphysical or spiritual understanding of criminal and criminology or criminality. Because what do you do as a criminal? You're breaking a law. But you see criminals or, whoever you want to consider like a thug or a criminal or whatever, they're not really understanding what they're doing. They're doing it, but not really truly understanding why. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not talking about governmental laws or laws that, your politicians. We're talking about the laws of the physical world itself and breaking them, going beyond them, defying gravity, defying these laws that keep the physical realm in its shape or in its patterns, and we're breaking them. That makes us outlaws. The road dog Jesse James, the badass Billy Gunn. Remember that from wrestling? From WWF Raw's War and shit like that. We supposed to be outlaws out here in the mind. You know what I mean? But this is where I would also speak on things like, the seven hermetic laws. So it's really not, it's breaking one set of laws, physics, to understand your mind with these next seven laws, which go beyond the physical. So it's not like you're breaking the laws, and not dealing with law at all. No, you're breaking the physical ones. You know what I'm saying? Because they are not the totality of your mentality. Like how I rhymed that. It's not the mentality of your, or excuse me, it's not the totality of your mentality. That's why we're breaking them. That's why we're shattering them, defying them. You are not bound by them until that's what you believe and that's what you choose. Your paradigm, your choice, right? Because again, this is why I'm not interested in trying to go on a crusade to get any of you to break or to go beyond the physical laws. Because again, I'm respecting you who made the choice to come down here to be bound by them. So it's just like, why would I go on a crusade to break you out of jail when you want to be there? And you would think, well, nobody wants to be in jail. That's what you think. Do you think that because you don't want to be there? You'd be surprised who wants to be in jail. You'd be surprised. I remember I was at a bus station before. I'll never forget it. This dude, this older dude, he had to be like 50, 51, 52, early 50s. He was doing everything in his power to go back to jail. He was starting fights with people. He was being ignorant, like just, invading people's space and eating their food and just doing real like nigga shit. Like just doing real like just hostile things. Just so that he can get arrested and be thrown back in jail. Now we would call that he's institutionalized. You know what I'm saying? Like Martin said, I've been institutionalized. I have wronged you. Yes, I have. But again, dealing with this on a high, like a higher understanding or more depthical understanding of that, that's most humanity. This is the most humans. They came here to be in this physical prison. They came here for this. So why would I waste my time breaking you out of something that you came here to do? Not breaking you out of the jail you want to be in. Like you institutionalized, that's where you want to be. But I am here for you if you want to break out. Because we're outlaws. Gun on my hip. You know what I'm saying? Hit him with the blicky. You know what I mean? Like some Wild Wild West. You know what I mean? What's the black cowboy name? Bass Reeves. Out here like Bass Reeves out here. You know what I'm saying? Breaking the law. Breaking the law. Break the law. Break the law. Break the law. You know what I'm saying? That's what the Shiva is for. You breaking the physical laws. Therefore, you must break out of the mentality that undergirds or supports physical phenomena itself. When you're ready to do that, I'm the person that you want to see, or anybody talking what I'm talking about. I ain't gonna just sit here and say you gotta listen to me. I'm just saying, like anybody talking about this type of information or knowledge, did you want to, you know what I'm saying, listen to what we saying, or you could go do your own thing. You gotta listen to me. But I'm just saying, like that's what we're on. So again, yes, people out here are physical world institutionalized. Physics institutionalized people. They don't believe nothing. They don't see anything beyond the physical or what their senses give them, and that's what they feel, and that's what they think is the totality of their existence. But you, as the metaphysician, you as the spiritual outlaw, you are to be going beyond that. You're breaking out of the institutionalized mentality of the physical realm itself. And that's the psychology of physics. And I would like to leave you with that idea. And, we can go much deeper into this concept, or much more depthical, but I wanted to keep this short and to the point so that, if you want to know more, you go down, you come with me in the back. And we deal with stuff that I don't put on the shelves out for the public. We go in the back. Meet me in the back. Remember when you was a kid and y'all went to when video stores was popping and they had that little door back there and your dad and them could go there in the back where all the little pornos, you know what I'm saying? Come with me in the back. I ain't putting all the jewels up front. I ain't putting them on a shelf for anybody to just walk in and pick it up and act like they don't want to buy it. Nah, meet me in the back. That's where the stuff is at. That's where my Patreon is at. It's in the back. So again, this is Alex Will 64. This has been Psychology of Physics. Look out for my Patreon coming up soon. Look out for the Alchemy of the Isis Thesis and Balls of Fire course that's coming on my Ethereality Institute page. And if you want to be institutionalized, hey, don't listen to a word I say. You stay in that jail cell. And this reminds me, since we're doing a live stream, since when was jail or prisoners allowed to go live in the jail? Like they be on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube going live. And I'm like, well, how are they going to mend their ways going live on social media? Why do they even have a phone?